look, the election is in November. I said, there's nothing that precludes the Senate from taking this up again and trying to actually pass it. One of the things that I said in December when Senator Tim Scott went on Face the Nation, and I just want y'all to understand it. Senator Tim Scott went on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan, and he blamed Democrats for, in his mind, trying to defund the police by tying changes in law to them receiving funding. And I found that to be real interesting because when Michael Harriot was at the Root, he actually wrote a piece the previous year in 2020 where Senator Tim Scott literally had the exact same mechanism in his law. And he wrote a piece that was called In Loving Memory of Tim Scott. Now, back in this was actually September, it wasn't December. So Senator Tim Scott was very vocal with me, texting back and forth with regards to it falling apart. Yet when I sent him that story and I asked him point blank, I said, if Dems want to defund the cops by cutting funds, please explain why you previously wanted to do the same. How can you say it's a bridge too far when what you now say is bad is what your own deputy chief of staff says was needed? Here's what Michael Harriot published today. And I asked him that question on September 30th, on October 27th, on January 19th. The very same thing. I even said, Senator Scott, it's been 2.5 months since I asked you to explain the difference between what you accused Dems of doing on the Floyd bill and what you proposed last year. Why have you and your staff gone silent on your own proposal? What's the difference? Still no response. I think what the president should do, the president should ask all of you to come back to the White House, invite those Republicans, and say, sit across the table and let's put this bill back on track. Your thoughts?
If I could just jump in, and I agree with you because we met with Senator Scott and we met with Senator Graham and we sat across the table from them and, you know, they misled us. You know, they told us that we're going to get something done. And when it fell apart, we got a call from Senator Booker, you know, to express his disappointment. But we didn't get a call from Senator Scott. We didn't. I mean, I called the office and, you know, they told me, oh, he's busy right now. I said, I don't care if he's busy. He made promises to us and he did not keep those promises. And so he's doing what's politically expedient. And he said, hey, it's just dead. It's just dead. And what we expressed to him, Alyssa and I, we told him our brothers are dead. That's what's dead. And we are tired of you playing politics with our you know, with our loved ones. We are tired of you negotiating if we live or die. And so we haven't heard from him either since that meeting and since it died. And so it's really disingenuous. It's disappointing and it's unfortunate. But again, I think you're right. We need to get back to the table and figure out how we make this work before the midterms.
I agree. I was going to actually say, you know, the same thing that Tiffany just said. One of the things that I like to really touch in on is that Roland has nightmares, you know, and for us to come to the White House and always get a Band-Aid, you know, that's unfortunate for us because we go right back and we're going through the same things over and over again. And at this point, we're just asking for closure. And one step ahead will be passing the George Floyd Justice Act. Right.
I just really think, again, if the White House doesn't demand it, I just personally think that that's something that the families should say to this president. Call that meeting at the White House. Ask them to come to the White House and then see if they actually show up. You got people, Senator Scott's running for re-election. You got other people running for re-election. And you're right. He made all those promises. And the Republicans kept saying, and I heard Senator Lindsey Graham say, we are going to get this done. And they didn't.
We don't want to water down bill. We don't want to water down bill. We want you to look at everything that we're asking you to do because it's protecting our children, our children's children. This is our future. And so we're just fed up and we're just asking for some type of closure.
And I will say I was able to speak with the brother of Walter Scott, Anthony Scott, who was very disappointed out of South Carolina with Senator Scott, who, said that he was going to get this done. And so, we do need to, hold him accountable for his lack of action and his lack of disrespect to the families. He could have at least had the common courtesy to say, hey, this is where we are and this is why. But you went and you lied and said that it was the Dems' fault and that the Dems can't have everything they want. Again, this is not about politics. Right. This is about if we live or die. And so...
So that fell apart in September, and none of you heard from Senator Tim Scott or Senator Lindsey Graham or the Republicans.
No, and that same weekend I ran into Senator Manchin and, tied him down, and I said, hey, what do you think about this? He told me he would go and meet with them and that he believed that this should happen, and hadn't heard from him either.
Same thing. He wanted to talk about socks and what kind of socks he had on and things like that, when he should have been talking about the laws and changing the things that's going on. I was on your show a while back, and we was talking about the George Floyd Policing Act, how it needed to be passed. We're still talking about it 2 years later, and we still haven't gotten it passed. It was Lindsey Graham and Timothy Eugene Scott. They sat there, they said, hey, we're going to get this done. Everybody was in there, Miss Carr, Miss Crutcher, Miss Alyssa, everybody representing their families. And we're still here today fighting for these same rights all over again. Same thing. It never stopped. We're still here doing the same thing, and we're speaking to Roland about the same issues every time we come down here.
Welcome you to the launch of the Mass Poor People's Low-Wage Assembly and Moral March on Washington, D.C., June 18, 2022.
We are a new, unsettling force, and we are powerful. New, unsettling force, and we are here.
We're rising up to demonstrate the compelling power that we, poor and low-income people, have to reconstruct society from the bottom up.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
Because we know that there is no scarcity in this land. The only scarcity is the moral will to do what's right.
Hold on, just a little while longer.
We are those with sub-minimum wage jobs who can't afford sky-high rent.
People with disabilities are the fastest growing minority group.
It's crazy to me that in 2021, it's still legal for workplaces to pay a sub-minimum wage to people with disabilities.
There are still so much trial and tribulations that we go through as Indigenous people. We can't get a decent wage to sustain ourselves, nor can we get adequate housing.
Veterans across this nation say enough is enough. We can't pat essential workers on the back on one day and then cut their health care the next day.
Health is a political choice.
What more do I need to do to prove that my voice is just as valuable as anyone else's?
There are still forces in denial that would try to slow walk our transition to a clean economy and a just future for us all.
We have an immoral system run by immoral people.
But together we walk and we fight.
It's time for a change. Reconstruyamos esta gran nación.
See, we are people of resilience as we fight these interlocking injustices together.
When we work together, mobilize together, and rise together, we become a voice for the voiceless, and we become an agent of change in a time where great change is needed.
We need the third reconstruction to ensure that deaf people, people with disabilities, and all people can have the right to live and to thrive.
We know what they are doing, but the question is, what are we going to do? Reconstruction begins when we change our mentality and say it's time for you to get your foot off of my neck.